Hello, and thank you for joining me on this edition of Watching Mr. Coon Solve It. So we're going to start with looking at Trig, Identities, and Proofs. So this is just kind of an introductional page. First thing you have to do before you do anything else, you probably want to click pause as soon as I tell you to do this, is go find your Trig Identities. Somewhere in the back of your text, probably maybe even somewhere in your section, or even Google the sheet. You can probably Google Trig Identities and come up with some pretty nice little sheets as well. But you want to reference that. And anytime you work an identity or trying to prove something or even solve one of these things, and we're going to do some solving as well in later videos, you're going to want to have that identity sheet handy. Now, none of these are really necessarily harder than the others. Some of them may require more steps, but it's all about finding the right pieces and fitting in the right pieces and moving them around. And that's where people have the problem. They're like, well, what's the process of how to solve this? And I said, there's not a process of how to solve this. It's looking for identities and then looking for some algebra to do. And that's really the two processes you have to jump back and forth between. So just work on that, okay? So to start with, I'm wanting to prove the very, very top line there. You see that top line says cosine of 4x equals 1 minus 8x squared, or sine squared x, cosine squared x. How do we get from the left to the right? So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to start with cosine of 4x. Doesn't really matter which side we start with, but we just got to start with one side. And I'm going to say, well, do I have an identity that looks anything like that? I don't. Well, kind of. If you look over here on the right, this is one of my double angle formulas. You say, well, what's a double angle formula? Look at your identity sheets. Find those identity sheets, look through them, and find that one. Say, well, look, there it is. And prove it. And in later videos, I'll also prove some of these identities and how they come about. This is just kind of get us started with looking at a few of them, okay? So here's this one. So that's why I wrote this as 2 times something, because form is 2 times something. So that means I can rewrite this. I can replace cosine of 2 times something with 1 minus 2 sine squared of that something. That's why I put the little box there. So the something here is 2x. So I'm replacing 2x into the new function right there, the new identity that I have, all right? And now I'm ready to keep going. So what else can I do? Well, I can move the square out. Does that really do anything? No, not really, other than the fact that now sine of 2x, that's an identity. If you go, again, look at your identity sheet, find your identity sheet, and you'll see, well, I can do something with that one. That's a double angle formula. I can rewrite that as sine of x plus x or all sorts of other things. But one of the things I do have that sine of 2x is equal to, and that's, see, I could do that, but I don't have to, because if I look at my double angle formulas for sine, I see that one of my double angle formulas for sine is 2 times sine of x cosine of x. So then I can rewrite that. Then I can distribute out my square into all these pieces here, 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 and here. And then I can distribute my 2 through right there. And then I got it, right? Okay. Now I went through that really fast. You can pause and rewind this several times and go through that every time, but those are all the steps. Just pause and look at each individual step. So rewind, go back to a place where you got lost, and just stare at it, that section of it for a while. Go back to your identity sheets, think about the algebra you can use, and go forward. You have your choices to end this when you're done, by the way. So mathematically, you can put a little box. That's what that orange box at the bottom is. It's just saying, I'm done with this. QED is Latin for I am done with this. It actually translates into as was to be shown. And then my favorite, and this is not mathematical at all, but this is Mr. Coon's way of doing it, is bam. All right. And for those who know me, you know the reference on that. All right. Thank you very much. And leave comments below if you have any. If you have any questions, also feel free to reach me by email if you have access to my email address and you have questions. Thank you. Good night.